Are you ready and excited and ready? Are you ready and excited and ready?
Heck yeah.
Are you excited to be ready, or are you ready to be excited?
Ready to be excited.
Really? What's the most amount of excitement you've ever had?
Oh gosh.
Something that was happening and you was like, this is amazing. This is the most exciting thing I've ever experienced.
Playing my first show with the Brews.
Really?
That was a really good moment.
That was a really good moment.
Very good.
Man, I bet so. That sounds very, very exciting. Hey, was that the most? Well, I would say that's like the most recent, but is that like the most exciting ever?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it was a time. You gotta understand, like, it was a time where I'd pretty much been stagnant for the 3 years before. And then Chris gave me the opportunity, and I wasn't gonna
let it down.
Fuck that, man.
Yeah, I seen a picture that I took of you a while back.
Did you?
Yeah. I just seen it a couple of days ago. Where you was at the Brews, and you was jamming out. You had a Captain America T-shirt on.
You know, you ought to post that on Skyler Jarvis Media.
I have it in an album too. I plan it to post. I can post it today.
Heck yeah.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
It would.
Man, because I made an album where it's just you. It's just you in it. So I can have things to post for you on
Heck yeah, man.
On Instagram.
Heck yeah.
You only got one post on there right now.
Yeah, I only got one. The first post, right?
Yeah.
The first album.
Mm-hmm. The first.
Yeah, that one picture.
Oh yeah. Has
yeah.
multiple. Yeah, there's multiple pictures on there, ain't there?
Yeah.
It's like 3 or something like that.
I think the bottom one was the Skyler Jarvis Media, and then.
Yeah, Skyler. Well, yeah, because it posted on Facebook too.
Yeah, it posted on Facebook, and then you posted that one that went along with the inside joke that we were having about.
I posted the description of it.
We're gonna come after you.
We're gonna come after you.
Go subscribe to Skyler Jarvis Media for everything Skyler Jarvis, or we're coming after you.
Yeah, what he said.
I loved that, and it was such a promotional stunt. I loved it.
I
loved it because the podcast.
It was a publicity stunt.
Yeah, it was. Because that's the way I viewed it, because like the podcast that was coming out that Wednesday was based, the outro was me saying that. And it was just an ongoing inside joke made outside. Yeah, that's a thing too on the podcast. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard because you're surrounded by a select few people and you kind of have inside jokes with those people, and then it's kind of hard whenever you're doing something on the podcast to avoid those inside jokes because people won't understand it. That's not on that's on the outside of the inside. Right, like saying we're gonna burn your fucking house down. If you don't subscribe to Skyler Jarvis Media or Wholehearted Entertainment.
Yeah, or do something that's completely violently illegal.
That's stupidly
violently illegal.
Just to be saying
stupid.
something. Yeah.
Stupidly violently illegal. Hey, it is what it is sometimes.
It is what it is. I mean, bro, me and my buddy Shazan, we used to shit talk each other all the time, bro. It was always
stupid, crazy, insane.
Man, I've told you this, but Wholehearted Entertainment viewers, I don't think I've told them. But me and Shazan, when we were going to school, we had these bathrooms would be, or the bedrooms would be in between one bathroom.
Yeah.
So you'd go across the bathroom and then you'd open the other guy's door
and that we used to call them bathroom mates. Bathroom mates. So
what does that mean?
Exactly what I meant. Like there was a door.
Bathroom mates?
So there was a door on the end of each bathroom, right?
Yeah.
That door on the end of each bathroom. There was a
There's a bathroom at the end of each door.
Shit, man. Fucking A. I can't speak. There was a door at the end, at both ends of the bathroom. There I got it.
There was a door at both ends of the bathroom.
Yeah, so
it's a tongue twister.
Two bedrooms. The bathrooms in between the bedrooms. So there was a door at both ends of the bathroom. So you would go. So we would go. You know, me and Shazam would sit in there talking shit, and then we'd go across the hall and across the bathroom and annoy Sean Tucker. Open his door. He'd try to shut us out, and then we'd wait.
Sean Tucker.
Yeah, we'd wait 5 more minutes, and we'd go open his door and come in and talk shit.
Yeah, I remember you telling that story.
And then he'd come back in our room, do the same damn thing, and we just
go stupid crazy.
We would go crazy. Shazan, bro, Shazan sent me a picture of the toilet once. I think I've talked about it on the podcast, but
yeah,
I'm not gonna go back into it. But
yeah, you can just tell them just to watch it, just to watch you're gonna have to watch the Skyler Jarvis show on Skyler Jarvis Media.
No, that was on one of the Wholehearted Entertainment ones.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, it may have been one of the more recent ones.
Yeah,
Tales of the Valedictorian.
No, I think it was the last one we did.
Communism,
yeah. We got into some serious shit then.
Some communism.
We got into some serious shit.
Yeah, I like communism. You know, actually, I was kind of playing. Unless you wanna,
yeah, man. I get you.
Unless you want to have communism,
no,
we can do it together.
No, man. But anyway, what was you saying?
Man, I'm gonna tell you what I was saying. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I thought maybe within that time I would remember, but I didn't remember. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Theo Vaughn. Do you know Theo Vaughn?
Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, he's a comedian. He's been on Joe Rogan several times.
I think I've heard of him.
Theo Vaughn. He's funny as hell, man. He's super funny. Theo Vaughn.
I've heard of him.
Man, he's super duper funny. And you know, that's one of the guys that does like his podcast solo. Anyways, I'll go into that in a minute. But he had Bernie Sanders on his podcast. Yeah,
Sorry,
well, I listened to him. I listened to his podcast because Theo Vaughn's. He's one of the guys that's like, he's more right leaning. Like, I don't think that he has fully said it, but I'm pretty sure he's insinuated that he's voting for Trump. I'm not sure if I've heard I think that he likes Trump, but he was talking to Bernie Sanders, and I think that they had a very interesting conversation too, because even though Bernie Sanders is like, he has more communistic values, and not really communistic, but more socialist values. He has more socialist values, so I think that not for that reason, but like because I respect Bernie Sanders as a person that will speak his mind. Whether I believe it or not, I think that he's able to speak his mind. He's able to say whatever he thinks is, true. And I think he's one of the only people that I will disagree with, but I will look at him and the way that he is saying what he's saying. He's very passionate about what he's saying, and I think that he actually believes what he's saying, unlike some of these other politicians, especially people that believe the things that he believes.
Right.
There's a bunch of different politicians, especially kind of on the left, that you won't really hear long-form podcasts from.
that's able to back up their argument based off of facts and whatever they believe is true. You see what I'm saying? Because, like, for Kamala, for example, you know what I'm saying? They didn't. I mean, nobody really liked her beforehand anyways.
Nobody likes her now.
Yeah, well, they act like they do now, but the people that didn't like her beforehand automatically likes her now. But anyways, besides all that, you won't ever see her in long-form content speaking about, say, policy or speaking about a bunch of different things that she says that she believes in, and she can't explain why she believes what she believes in, and that makes sense. Whereas Bernie Sanders, I will disagree with 90% of the things that he's saying, but he's able to speak what he believes. I would be more liable to vote for Bernie than I would be for Biden. And I think Bernie on some points is more, he's more radical than Biden is. But I think that, Bernie's still, he can make whatever he's trying to say make sense. Like, whenever he talks about certain things, some of it makes sense, but, there's a bunch of different practicalities mixed in with it and complexities that make it hard to have those conversations about, economy and, social values and whatnot. Mix them together.
Right.
And most of the things that he talks about is more economy based. And is like but economy based, but from the social points of views.
Right.
Yeah. And I was having, like, in the last conversation we was talking about communism, I was having difficulties trying to express what I believed was, like, the best government and why communist values are, counterproductive in a sense, or socialist values, and communism never really worked out. But I have trouble articulating a lot. Honestly, that's the way I look at a lot of things. I have trouble articulating a bunch of things, but I think strongly on a bunch of different things. So I have to articulate it as well to make other people understand my point of view. And I think some other people may struggle with that as well.
Right. Sometimes I have a difficulty of really explaining how I feel about the whole political situation.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the times, you don't, you might say something that somebody just might get mad at you, fuck you. You said something, that went against my social whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It went to go against my social standards or what.
Like, I mean, the whole cancel culture thing.
Uh-huh.
For me, it's pointless. It's counterproductive.
It's like virtue signaling too.
Right. It's like every time you don't like something somebody does, okay, you cancel them. Well, they've tried to cancel Eminem. They've tried to cancel,
Yeah. Like, definitely cancel culture is that's definitely a big problem whenever it comes to people trying to express how they feel about things, and then their perspective may not align with somebody else's perspective that is viewing that, and then other people see the same thing, and then they're like, I don't like this person, we should get rid of this person because they're saying something that they don't necessarily believe. And I don't think that should be. I think all the dumb ideas will die. I think through conversation and through figuring things out, I think that old ideas will die. So if something doesn't really make sense, why would you try to oppress what you believe doesn't make sense? Why don't you just let that idea go out there and then let's see how that idea works out, instead of automatically declaring that idea as nonsensical or offensive from your perspective just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not going to work or it is going to work. I think that if there's an idea that somebody holds, I think that it should go out into the public, and then people understand their idea and their perspective on what they believe and why they believe what they believe, instead of just automatically dismissing whatever perspective somebody has just because it doesn't completely align with what you believe or what you think is, right, or what is supposed to happen.
And one thing I'm very passionate about is the biblical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the Bible. A lot of people try to fit the Bible to their lives when they should. I'm trying to figure out a good way to put it.
Yeah.
They try to live, like they're a character in the Bible or whatever, but they don't. They don't.
Well, I think that there's also, I'm
trying to figure out how to articulate my thoughts. I can think it in my head, but when it comes out of my mouth, it's like,
yeah.
But it's something I'm really passionate about. Like, people don't align themselves with the Bible, with the biblical standards.
Yeah, and I mean, some people,
and that, like, the certain things on Israel, like, that's.
Well, that's a longer story.
That's a longer story, but that I have the views I have because biblically based, social standards. I was raised as a Christian, and that's how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
I want to, I align my standards with the Bible.
Yeah, and I think that a bigger conversation too with that is that as society has progressed from where it originally started in America, it was originally founded on Christianic views, trust in God we trust, all those other things,
right.
like, the Masons, they originally practiced Christianity and whatnot. But like as society progressed and, as it's implemented in the First Amendment, the freedom of religion, other people sometimes gain other points of views, and they come from other religions. So then they are then put into a society too, or if they come from a different society, come to a larger Christianic society, but in a country where there's a freedom of religion, you're able to believe whatever you want to believe, and then you're able to look at this religion and then this religion, and then make a decision where if you like this one better than this one, or you believe this one better than this one, then you're allowed to practice that religion.
Right.
And then more and more people catches onto that, and then they start to become other religions, or if not no religion at all, like atheists.
This is going to be a very hot take. But I think a lot of the religion, like Christianity, is, that's, worshiping Jesus Christ. That's the only religion in my book. That all other religions are man-made. And factual evidence to back this up. Which one of these other religious leaders, Muhammad, Buddha, all these other religious, figures, which one of them died for our sins so we could be saved and conquered death, hell, and the grave so we would have a chance to be in heaven?
See, what I was saying though, like beyond that, is that there has become a bunch of different people that don't view that as, whether you believe it or not, there's a bunch of people that have grown out of that to have the other perspectives and become something that is other than. And then they choose to go along with something else. But the problem that they start coming across is that the majority of this country was built off of a certain religion, and society itself has a moral foundation somewhat through the perspective of the Bible, because the whole country, in essence, from the beginning, was built off of Christianity.
Well, I'll have to say, like, if you watch history closely, they started taking the Bible out of schools in 1962, and then they started taking this and that, and there's a whole list of things that they've done over the years that's been against Christianity. They're like they're trying to,
Yeah, it's like they're trying to kind of get rid of it.
Right.
Exactly.
But
and make
the thing is, you can't get rid of Jesus Christ. He's always going to be there, and he's going to come back.
Yeah, and I mean, regardless of what you believe, I think that there is a similar overarching story within all religious contexts of a good versus evil that is constantly being dealt with across time. And I think that is, regardless if you believe anything, like a lot of people don't believe in anything, supposedly. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Where it comes to atheism, that doesn't make any sense to me, but a lot of people believe that. And, that's just not, that just doesn't make any sense. How did we just come from nothing?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like
how did the earth just
appear
just
out of nowhere?
All started with a Big Bang, the Big Bang Theory.
The Big Bang. Where did the Big Bang come from?
Where did the Big Bang come from?
Oh, okay, sure. We came from a Big Bang. Where did it come from?
Some force had to have meticulously made this where we live.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense.
It couldn't have just came out of a void in space.
Like, if you want to draw something, like, what are you going to draw? And why would you draw it? And where would that drawing come from?
I like to tell people the only Big Bang I know when the world was created was when God said, "Let there be light." Boom. Let there be a firmament between the heavens and the waters. Boom.
Yeah. Man, yeah, that's crazy to think about. But I think that it's crazy that some people just don't believe in anything. Like, how do you not believe in anything? Like, you believe in nothing?
Atheism
you believe
is
that
just,
nothing happened?
Atheism is just, like I said, this is my take on it. But
hey, I gotta take a piss. I'm still listening.
Atheism just means you're mad at God. They're mad at God for some reason, or some of them, they were forced into a Christian life and they didn't believe it or whatever. Or it could be something. It just people that are mad at God. They don't want to believe anything as far as religion. Or maybe they've been church hurt. Some people get sent away from the church because they have certain clothes on.
Ah, yeah, and
that is very unchristian. You know what I mean? Like,
like it says, the Bible says, "Come as you are."
Come as you are. I mean,
but there's also a passage that also says, present your best.
Well,
to the Lord.
yeah.
But still, yeah,
I mean,
I think that's. I really think that there's a lot of metaphors in the Bible that mean a bunch of different things.
Okay. I'm thinking of it like this. What if somebody comes as a drug addict and they really want to stop doing drugs? They want to come to the Lord, and the pastor comes and says, "Well, you look like one of them street druggies. You can't come in here." Or
so you're getting judged.
I'm just
before.
using that as
You're saying like a judgment.
Using that as an example, but they use that as
Is that what you're saying? Like people are judging you before
people.
you.
People are people that are honestly wanting to find out about this Jesus Christ, find out who he is. They've heard about him, and he can save people, and the whole giving your life to Jesus thing. It's not about just believing. There's some people, on the podcast, like when people say, "Oh yeah, I believe in God," just like casually. I can't help but sit here and think, do you just believe in him? You believe there is a God, or do you know Jesus Christ personally?
Yeah, and see, I do understand that too, and then that also goes back to a conversation that I was having earlier today. I was having a conversation about how some people are somewhat hypocritical, for a lack of a better term, or it's hypocritical because they will apply certain things in the Bible in their life, but they won't apply others.
Yeah.
And then, if somebody else has a problem that they don't agree with, and they will preach to them, then the people that are hypocritical, from my opinion, they will, or not even in my opinion, but for like a lack of a better term, because that is what it is. It's not really my opinion, They're going to say something to that person that they think is doing wrong. They're going to explain to them why they believe they're doing wrong whenever they don't even have their own house in order, from the point of religion. If they apply the Bible, they only apply part of it because they pick and choose, but then they will talk to somebody else about why they are doing wrong.
Right.
Whenever they don't have their own house in order.
Same thing with the whole "do as I say, not as I do." If you actually look at it,
yeah,
that shit sounds very hypocritical.
It does.
It does.
It does.
If you actually look at it, you're saying "do as I say, not as I do." You can do whatever you want to. You can go out, you can party, you can fuck around, you can do drugs, you can whatever.
Yeah.
But your kid can't. You don't want your kid doing it.
Yeah, well,
that is so hypocritical.
I have two points of views on that. And the first one is you should definitely lead by example, in the form of if you want other people to do something that you believe is true and applies to people, then it should also apply to you too. Whenever you're going about whatever you want other people to do, you should be doing the same exact thing that you think that they should do.
Show them the example. Exactly.
And that makes sense, leading by example. Okay, and then now for the other part, there is, well, you did it, why can't I do it? But I think that some instances is that maybe, for an example, if we're talking about like a father to, or like parents to a child, the parents may have did that before in their past, but they learned from their actions because they did do it, and then now, so they don't want you to have to go through that hardship or pitfall of whatever happened.
Right.
They want you to do whatever that they didn't do because they learned that wasn't the best choice that they made. So then they're like, okay, yes, I did it myself, but I don't think that you should do it because I experienced it myself, and I don't think that is, I did not get anything. I did not gain anything from it.
I understand that point of view, but the saying implies that "do as I say, not as I do." That you're still doing it. And
also whenever you're starting to, I think that it's also like if you are doing something. if you are doing something that you may not agree with, this is going to be kind of difficult, because I remember thinking about whenever Candace Owens brought up, this is the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I think about this. Candace Owens brought up about Jordan Peterson recently. She had highlighted that there was a period in time where Jordan Peterson went through like hell. He described hell, and he was saying that it was from apple cider vinegar. Whenever, in reality, he's talking about dealing with benzodiazepine and like a benzodiazepine addiction, and he was getting off of it, and he was having really, really bad withdrawals from it. So he described it as, and he said that it wasn't an addiction. He didn't describe it as an addiction. He described it as, one thing had happened to another, and it didn't, he just went through a series of events that was not a pill addiction. That he didn't describe as a pill addiction, excuse me.
Right.
But she believes that it is a pill addiction from benzodiazepine or a drug addiction. And, even though he may have been prescribed it, he had went through the whole rigmarole of going to somewhere in Mexico or something, Latin America of some sort, and then he went through an ayahuasca treatment there because it's legal there. He went through an ayahuasca treatment, or maybe it was Russia, I think, and then he came out and it was pretty bad, but he got better over time and he didn't have an addiction anymore. But I don't think that, he said he described it differently. But the whole point of what he was trying to say, or she was trying to say, was that Jordan Peterson had a pill addiction or whatnot, but in the process of him doing that, he's also preaching to people how they need to be a better version of themselves, and preaching to people that they should get their house in order before preaching to people. And then she was highlighting that seemed hypocritical of him to do that because he didn't even have his own house in order. But I look at it as the information that he was given to people doesn't make it any less true because he had that addiction. Just because he had that addiction does not mean that the information that he was saying was true is not true, because it's still true. But he did have problems in his own life, but I don't think that contributes to the value and, the truth within the conversation of what is morally right.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's another perspective that I was saying about, do as I say, not as I do. And I believe that to an extent, because there are things that are all around true, but some people may have trouble leading by example, but they still want what's better for them. They still want what's better for you to an extent. So they tell you what they believe is right, even though that it's hard for them to follow what they believe is right. Did I get you? Was you following along there?
Yeah, man.
Did I explain that good enough?
Yeah.
Are you struck?
But I mean, it just it sounds it just sounds hypocritical to me, bro. Because
No, I definitely understand that part. No, definitely. I definitely understand both sides. It is somewhat hypocritical if you're trying to say,
if you're trying to say something and you're doing and you're still doing those things.
Well, if you're trying to preach to other people not to do the things that you're doing, and that's politicians get a lot of slack for doing stuff like that too, because they'll say they'll be like, tax the rich, but then they won't change the laws to where the rich can avoid the taxes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They still follow those same tax rules, but they're not going to change those tax laws. They're going to make it seem like they're going to tax the rich more so that other people don't have to pay more. But it doesn't matter how much they tax the rich if the rich can just avoid it all.
Pretty much, man.
I mean, what the hell?
Hell yeah. Man.
So then it's completely pointless. It's completely pointless to tax the rich if they're just going to avoid all the taxes that are thrown at them.
Right.
I mean, duh. But the politicians aren't going to do that because their donors are the rich, and then that's who is giving them the money. Is their rich donors. So
exactly.
I mean, so they're not going
to do anything.
They're going to say whatever they have to say in order to get the vote. But then, they're not going to do anything about it, even though they know how the rich get rich. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with people being rich and whatnot, but
that's the same thing when Joe Biden got in office. Like, he said he was, equal for, people that didn't vote for him or that did. He wanted to be the best president, and just the downward trend as he started sending the Afghans, the soldiers that were in Afghanistan home. Then Russia and Ukraine go to war.
Yeah.
Then Israel.
Yeah.
There's two wars going on now in the span of 1 year.
2 world wars.
About a year and a half.
2 world wars?
Not world wars, just wars.
Oh, yeah. 2 wars. Yeah. Ukraine and then Israel.
And then Israel, yeah.
Yeah, but I also think that there's other wars, too. I think there's other wars that's been going on. I believe.
War with Afghanistan's still going.
It's still going?
But
I think that's like a civil war kind of, ain't it?
I know.
No? Who are they at war with then?
Afghans at war with us. At war with us. Do you not remember?
Really?
When 9/11?
Oh yeah. Well, 9/11, and then they got rid of Saddam Hussein or whatever his name.
Hussein.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the war
and Bin Laden.
The war continued. That's why he had
Al Qaeda and Bin
soldiers.
Laden.
Yeah, that's why he had them soldiers, or the U.S. had their soldiers watching Afghanistan so they wouldn't pull nothing.
Yeah.
And then Biden sent all of them home. So that leaves them to get an opportunity to bomb us or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't want that. The same way with kind of like Iran, but Iran, I think, they're getting close. If they're not getting close, I think that they may already be like a nuclear country. Like they have nuclear warheads. They're up there with like, America, China, Russia. Like North Korea.
Yep. North Korea. I remember when North Korea kept testing bombs.
Yeah. We thought that there was going to be like a war with, America. But see, whenever Trump was in there, that's the thing. Whenever Trump was in there, he had he had good relationships with them. He had good relationships with all the people of all the countries. And even if it wasn't like good relationships, it was still mutual, and they was still on good terms. They
talked it out.
Exactly. Like even though they disagreed,
they sat down and talked
on certain things. Yeah, they sat down and talked, and I think that it becomes a problem with it whenever another country's doing something that you don't like. And then
he sat down with Kim Jong-un, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I mean, he should. And Biden won't. Biden won't sit down with none of those people. He'll definitely sit down with Xi Jinping. He will definitely do that, but...
Yeah, he will. He will do that, but...
Yeah, but he won't sit down. Reasons. He won't sit down with Putin. He won't have a conversation with Putin. He didn't try to have a conversation with Putin whenever he started the war.
Exactly.
It was just automatically.
Trump would have.
It would just automatically back it up. No, with Trump, I really truly believe with Trump that war wouldn't happen. But it was planned in a way that whenever a strong president got out and a weak one got in, they would just automatically, they was going to do it either way. So, and then he knew that that's just how the American system worked, you know? So
that's why I said if Kamala Harris gets in there, we're fucked. We are fucked. I'm telling you, bro. If we get Trump in there, I'm hoping we get Trump in there, because if that's the case, then we at least have a fighting chance, you know, before eventually it you know, you can see the fall of America. It's gonna happen.
I think we're already seeing that for the most part, because like America's becoming like more feminine.
Especially after COVID. Yes, it is.
It's becoming way more feminine, so then the more masculine countries are going to be able to take over. And, you know, I was actually watching a new interview with Andrew Tate earlier today, and I'm not saying that I believe in everything that Andrew Tate says, but I think that a lot of what he says, especially about politics, is true to an extent, you know, especially certain things. Like he highlighted and he made this perfect, it was a perfect analogy. And he explained that that there's a whole bunch of bullshit behind guns and bloodshed, you know, war and shit like that. There's a bunch of bullshit behind it. Like, that's the power dynamic, you know. Who has more power? Well, you know, what's behind the bullshit? Like, and he made the example of, okay, you get a speeding ticket in a country, right? So then you have to go to court for the speeding ticket. You have to pay the speeding ticket. Okay, you don't pay the fine, you know, then you get like a knock on your door, you know, or you know, you get a fine. You get a fine, and then if you don't pay the fine, after the fine was given to you, then you get a knock on the door. And then whenever you get a knock on the door, you're like, I don't want to do court or nothing. You don't attend to none of it, and you completely ignore the problem. Then, you know, they're going to be like, okay, well, you're going to pay us all that money or we're going to kill you. You know, and then that goes true. That's like a bunch of bullshit behind that. You know, it's like a bullshit barrier behind power, you know, because you can only disobey so much. You can't just straight up disobey the law, regardless if you believe in it or not.
And the thing about it, you know, if Trump gets in, I have a feeling there's going to be another assassination attempt.
I think so too. Because he's not ran by, and I think that Trump is completely different from a lot of the candidates, because he's not really ran by things. And, you know, they was talking about that too in the interview, because Trump isn't really ran by anything, but he is also, you know, he's not able to do all of it himself, so he can no longer fully support his own campaign, because he's already spent billions of dollars, and he's getting billions of dollars in lawsuits, having to pay millions of dollars in legal fees, attorneys. You know, there's so much money going out. Like, he's losing so much money that he had to ask for a bunch of money from people. But not like a bunch of money at a time, but he's just asking for money from people because he is going through a lot of bullshit, and he's having to use a lot of his own money just because he's speaking what he thinks. And that's why I was saying that he's different, is because, you know, there's not a bunch of, he does get donors, but there's not, you know, I don't think that the lobbyists are with him, because he speaks it out against a lot of the things that are controlling the system.
Exactly.
And
Democrat and Republican.
Yeah, and then, I mean, not even, well, there, and, you know, that's why I say that I'm not really Democrat or Republican either. I like to say that I'm independent, even though a lot of my views sway towards the Republican side. But, you know, I have my doubts about, you know, both of them, and, you know, especially the people within it, because there are a bunch of, like I said, I sway more towards the Republican side, but there are a bunch of Republicans that are in the party that I don't agree with.
Exactly.
Or I don't, either I don't agree with, or they're doing a bunch of shady shit and they're corrupt too. It's the Democrats and the Republicans that have been in Senate, in the House for long periods of time, and not even that. They're not even preaching about, and they're not even making the laws for what's best for the people of America. They're making the laws because they are getting paid to do so by all these big companies, pharmaceutical companies, the tech companies, all these big, medical companies, everything like that. It's so much money being poured into the government from these big companies to do whatever they want to be done. And that's what I was saying too earlier about the conversation that we was having about the Bible. A lot of society has strayed away from the Bible, whether you believe in the Bible or not. And then a lot of these big companies are being ran by people that don't believe what's in the Bible. And then they are funneling money into, these people to say things that go against what is believed in the Bible.
Right.
Or, other religions too, not just the Bible. But it's either going against the Bible or it's going against somebody's religion, Not everybody believes in the same thing.
And, you should have the freedom. God gives us the freedom to choose whether, but there's no fence riding. That's a lot. That's something a lot of people don't, there's no fence riding.
Yeah.
You either believe in him and accept him as your savior, or you don't.
Yeah. And what I was saying too is that if you do believe it, there's a bunch of the people that are making the laws maybe don't believe it.
Exactly.
And most of the, modern day liberals and progressive liberal people, they are mostly atheists. And, that's not saying anything about those group of people, is that that's why a lot of their views, go against the views of the conservative side, because most people from the conservative side they have more religious values or just principles that are more traditional, whereas the more liberal side or the more progressive side wants to do more things that are outside of those traditional values. So then they start believing in a bunch of other things and pagan stuff like that too.
Yeah, pagan, that's evil stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man, all that stuff it's crazy to think about
that's
too.
That's getting into Satanism and stuff.
Because a lot of people don't think that politics, and a lot of people don't believe that I've talked to. This is from experience of talking to a bunch of different people. A lot of people that I've talked to don't believe that religion and politics don't align with each other. Whenever I think that they go hand in hand.
They do.
Whatever you believe,
the Bible
personally is how you are going to vote politically as well. Yeah, you vote with your wallet economically too, but you're also voting for the candidate that you believe is going to make the best decision based around what your values are.
Exactly. I mean, it does influence you in a lot of ways, what you believe religiously, because I do agree with you there, because Christian values, is what influences me and my papa, in a lot of different ways. Me and my mama and my papa, we base what we believe in politically, who we back by their Christian values.
Yeah. That makes sense, and I think everybody does. I think everybody does for the most part. Because why would you vote for somebody that doesn't believe the same thing as you?
Exactly. Wow.
Even if they say that they do. Some of them say that they believe in certain things, but they don't. That goes also to it's all fucking connected, man. It's all connected with one another. Everything's connected. We're all fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Okay, Skyler.
I mean, even the Bible talks about the end times and stuff like this that's happening in the world.
Well, we're in the end times, and we're in the end times of the podcast today.
Definitely, man. Time to wrap it up.
Yeah, we love you. We care about you, and we think that you're cool.
See you on the next one.
See you on the next one.